Alright guys, so let's take a look at a couple more examples of literal equations. So this first one could be a tough one because we see that we have the variable that we're looking for, b, is in the denominator. Alright, so eventually we're going to have to figure out a way to move that into a numerator position to make it a little easier to solve for. So the first thing I can do is kind of solve this like a two-step equation. So I want to get everything away from b, so I'm going to start by getting rid of my 5 by subtracting 5 on both sides. Okay, so what that gives me is a minus 5 equals 4 over 3b. Okay, so I got rid of that extra piece. Now I have to deal with what's left in this fraction. Now there's a couple of different ways I could do this. I like to multiply to get rid of my fraction completely, so that's what I'm going to do here. To get rid of 3b in the denominator, I'm going to multiply by 3b, and that cancels that out. Now, because I multiplied on one side by 3b, I'm going to now do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to multiply the whole other side by 3b as well. So now what my result is 3b times a minus 5 equals 4. Okay, now on the left side, I have 3 times b times a minus 5 equals 4. Now, I need to get b by itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide everything that I don't want on the left side. So I don't want my 3 anymore. I don't want that there, okay? So I'm going to cancel that out. And then I also don't want this a minus 5 thing. So I'm going to go ahead and also divide by that. If I do that to one side, I now have to do that to the other side. Okay, now notice I did not divide by b because I wanted that to stay where it was. And then on the right side now, I have everything that I divided, 3a minus 5. And that is my final answer for this one. Okay, so it's b equals 4 over 3a minus 5 in parentheses. Let's take a look at another one. Okay, so here we have a proportion. We're looking to isolate a. Now, if we're not familiar on how to solve proportions, it's cross-multiplying. So I'm going to be multiplying a times d and c times b to get my equation. So let's go ahead and do that. A times d is just AD. C times b is just CB. So again, I'm multiplying across here, okay? Now I want to get a by itself. Well, what's the extra piece by a? I don't want this d here anymore. Okay, so the way I get rid of that is I'm going to divide by d on both sides. So divide by d, and I get a equals CB over d. And a is by itself. I am all good. All right, so that one actually not as complicated as it looked. Let's take a look at one more. Okay, so for this one, I'm looking to isolate a. Now, it's kind of stuck with a fraction, and there's some other things I got to do here. So again, the first thing I want to do is get rid of that fraction. The way I do that is, if it's in the denominator, I want to multiply by c to get rid of it on both sides. Okay, so I'm on the right side and move it to the other side. So c now cancels out, and I have to, again, because I multiplied it on one side, I now have to multiply it on the other side as well. So I get c times d, or just cd, equals a minus b. All right, and now keeping in mind that I'm solving for a, I'm trying to isolate a. The only thing that's left here that I don't want anymore is this minus b. So the way I get rid of that is I'm going to add b on both sides. So that gives me cd plus b equals a, or a equals cd plus b. Okay, again, it's really hard to pick up on patterns in the structure of these questions, but it's more along the lines of the understanding of what you're doing. You're using the inverse operations, the opposite operations, to try to cancel out the stuff that you don't want next to your variable.